You don't need to overhaul your entire life. You don't need to wake up at 5 a.m. or build some perfect routine. The truth is, transformation doesn't happen in the big dramatic changes. It happens in the 10 minutes you thought were too short to matter. 10 minutes feels like nothing, but 10 minutes, done consistently, becomes the difference between who you are and who you could be. And the best part? No one will even notice you're changing, until suddenly you're unrecognizable. Part 1. The invisible architecture. Here's what most people get wrong about self-improvement. They think it has to be big. They think it has to hurt. They wait for the perfect moment to start their transformation, and while they're waiting, years pass. But the people who actually change, they're not doing anything impressive. They're just doing small things that no one sees. 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there. And those minutes stack into a completely different life. The reason 10-minute habits work isn't because they're easy. It's because they're sustainable. You can't fail at 10 minutes. You can't talk yourself out of 10 minutes. 10 minutes doesn't require motivation. It just requires deciding that the next 10 minutes belong to you. Not to the scroll, not to the distraction, not to the autopilot. And here's the secret. Once you do something for 10 minutes, you've broken the hardest part, the resistance, the starting. Most people never start because they think they need an hour. But you don't. You just need 10 minutes and the willingness to show up.
Part 2. The reading ritual. 10 minutes of reading before bed. That's it. Not a chapter. Not until you finish something. Just 10 minutes. But here's what actually happens when you do this. You're training your brain to be still, to focus on one thing, to exist without the constant buzz of notifications and dopamine hits. Most people go from screen to screen to screen, then wonder why they can't sleep, why their mind races, why they feel anxious for no reason. Your brain doesn't have an off switch. It has a wind-down process, and you've been skipping it. 10 minutes of reading isn't about the book. It's about teaching yourself how to be calm, how to let your nervous system settle. And yeah, over time, you'll read a lot of books. You'll become someone who knows things. But the real transformation is quieter. You'll become someone whose mind doesn't feel like a war zone. Someone who can actually be present. That's not a small thing. Part 3. The morning pages. 10 minutes of writing first thing in the morning. Not journaling, not gratitude lists, just dumping whatever's in your head onto paper. The anxious thoughts, the weird dreams, the things you're worried about, the things you're excited about. All of it, unfiltered. You know that feeling of carrying around 1,000 tabs open in your brain? This closes them. It gets the noise out, and what's left is clarity. You don't realize how much mental energy you waste just managing all the thoughts swirling around until you give them somewhere to go. The people who seem focused, who seem like they know what they're doing, are not special. They've just learned how to clear the clutter. 10 minutes of writing every morning is like hitting reset on your mental state. You stop reacting to every feeling and start observing them. And observation creates distance. Distance creates choice.
Part 4. The movement practice. 10 minutes of intentional movement. Not a workout, not exercise, just moving your body in a way that feels good. Stretching, walking, dancing in your room, whatever. The point isn't fitness. The point is reconnecting with the fact that you have a body. Most people live entirely in their heads. They sit for hours, ignore every signal their body sends, then wonder why they feel disconnected and numb. Your body isn't just the vehicle for your brain. It's where your emotions live, where your stress gets stored. 10 minutes of movement releases that. It reminds you that you're not just a floating consciousness, you're a physical being. And when you take care of that, everything else gets easier. You don't have to become an athlete. You just have to move. And when you do, consistently, something shifts. You start to feel more alive, more present, more like yourself. Part 5. The silence sitting. 10 minutes of doing absolutely nothing. No phone, no book, no music, no podcast, just sitting, just breathing, just existing. This one feels impossible at first. Your brain will scream at you. It will tell you this is a wasted time, that you should be productive, that you're bored. But boredom is where creativity lives. Stillness is where clarity comes from. You can't hear your own thoughts when you're constantly feeding your brain input. And without hearing your own thoughts, you just live on autopilot. You react instead of respond. You follow instead of lead. 10 minutes of silence teaches you something crucial. That you don't need constant stimulation to be okay. That being alone with yourself isn't something to fear. The people who seem centered, who seem like they know who they are, they've spent time in the silence. They've learned to be comfortable in their own presence.
Part 6. The Learning Loop. 10 minutes a day learning something new. A language, a skill, a concept. Something that has nothing to do with your job or your obligations. Just something that makes you curious. This sounds small, but it changes how you see yourself. When you stop learning, you start shrinking. You start believing you're fixed, that who you are now is who you'll always be. But when you learn something new, even something tiny, you remember that you're capable of growth, that you're not done, that you can still become more. And over time, those 10-minute sessions add up. You become someone with skills you didn't have, knowledge you didn't have, confidence you didn't have. Not because you did anything dramatic, just because you decided that 10 minutes a day belonged to your growth. Part 7. The Relationship Check-In. 10 minutes a day connecting with someone who matters. Not texting, not liking their posts, actually connecting. A phone call, a voice note, a real conversation. This feels unnecessary until you realize how many relationships you've lost by assuming they'll always be there. People drift apart slowly, not because of conflict, just because of neglect. 10 minutes keeps that from happening. It reminds the people you care about that they matter, and it reminds you that you're not alone in this. That life isn't just about productivity and goals. It's about the people who make it worth living. The strongest relationships aren't built in grand gestures. They're built in consistent small moments, in showing up, in caring when it's not convenient. 10 minutes a day is enough to build something real. Part 8. The Evening Review. 10 minutes before bed, reviewing your day. Not judging it, not beating yourself up, just noticing. What went well? What didn't? What you learned? What you want to do differently tomorrow? This creates a feedback loop. Most people just live day after day without ever pausing to reflect. They make the same mistakes, fall into the same patterns, wonder why nothing changes. 10 minutes of reflection breaks that cycle. It turns experience into wisdom. It helps you see patterns you'd otherwise miss. And slowly, you start making better decisions. Not because you're forcing yourself, but because you're aware. Awareness is the first step to everything. Part 9. The Gratitude Glance. 10 minutes thinking about what's actually good in your life. Not forcing positivity, not pretending problems don't exist, just acknowledging what's working. What you have, what you'd miss if it was gone. Your brain has a negativity bias. It's wired to spot problems and threats. That kept your ancestors alive, but it makes you miserable. Gratitude rewires that. It trains your brain to notice the good. And the more you notice it, the more of it you see. You don't become delusional. You just become balanced. You stop catastrophizing. You stop taking everything for granted. 10 minutes of gratitude doesn't fix your problems, but it changes your relationship to them. And that changes everything.
Part 10. The truth you're avoiding. Here's what no one tells you. These 10-minute habits won't make you successful overnight. They won't solve all your problems. They won't turn you into a different person by next week. But they'll do something better. They'll make you someone who shows up for yourself, someone who keeps promises to themselves, someone who builds trust with themselves. And that version of you, that version can do anything. Because you'll know that when you say you're going to do something, you actually do it. You'll stop being someone who just talks and starts being someone who acts. Not in big dramatic ways, in quiet, consistent, 10-minute ways. Your life will transform, but no one will notice. Not at first. They'll just notice one day that you seem different, calmer, more focused, more alive. And they'll wonder, what changed? But you'll know, it was never the big things. It was always the 10 minutes.